What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel, and in today's review I'm going to be taking a look at the Transformers Earthrise Deluxe class Airwave, one of the new modulators to come out of this Deluxe class wave, and this figure is actually based on an old MicroMasters base way back in the day. So to begin with, I'm going to be showcasing you the transformation from all of Airwave's individual pieces into his missile launcher slash turret mode, and then we'll go through some of the other modes. Now this was one of the figures that I wasn't looking forward to at all in the wave, and quite honestly I don't think that he is a standout for me. He's not a character that I'm particularly too familiar with, nor do I think that he's a character that anyone is really too familiar with, so I do believe that this figure will unfortunately be one of the shelf warmers, but that's not to say that it is a bad figure. To begin with, we're going to want to take the legs, and you can see the slot here this tab will peg into, so just snap that into place and repeat the same process here for this side. Now what we'll do is we'll come to these sections and just attach those on both sides. We'll then come to this piece, and you're just going to want to flip this under to the underside, and then with this you're going to want to snap this into place, and then bring this one and snap this one also into place. With that done, we can turn around to this section and tab these pieces in, just setting those off to the side for now. We can then bring in this piece, and you're going to want to snap that ratchet joint backwards, and then just snap this one back also, and just tab this one in and snap that one into place. Now we can bring this section, and you can see two ports here and here that these slots here will obtain. So just align those up, snap those into place, and you can see they tab in really nice and securely. Come to this section and pull out this tab on the back. And now this is actually one of the more lazier aspects of the transformation, in the sense that this literally does just peg onto the back. It doesn't even really have a place to go, so when you snap this in, you can see it just hangs out there. There's no other way for this to tab into anything, so I recommend just collapsing it down to keep a rather coherent look. And then we can bring in some of these guns and snap these into place on both sides, and then bring this section here and snap this all firmly into place. And here we have Airwave fully transformed up into his missile launcher mode, and I've got to say that out of all of his modes, I think that this is the weakest by far, as it doesn't really look like anything. It does just look like an accumulation of parts, and quite frankly I think that it's one of the more uglier MicroMaster alternate forms that we've had in a very long time. If at all, this is the worst one out of them all. This is just a really awful mode, and it doesn't even really work. I mean, this section here is supposed to ratchet up, but if you ratchet it up on these joints, not only are they incredibly stiff, but I just don't think that this looks very good at all. The fact that this whole section here is floppy is really unfortunate, as you can't necessarily lift it off the ground. Every time you move it, this section will flop down. It would have been interesting to have seen perhaps them incorporate this piece in another way in order to solidify the connection of this. I just don't like how all of this flops together. It doesn't really feel like a very cohesive alternate form, and as stated is probably the worst. But you can see that I think that the actual bed section itself looks quite nice. This definitely does convey that look of a missile launcher, whereas this whole section under here, I'm not entirely sure what they were going for. It would have been interesting to have seen the treads perhaps flipped and acted as if though perhaps it was a turret or a tank. That would have been pretty cool, but as it stands, this is definitely the weakest mode by far. Bringing in some comparisons, here we have it compared next to the base of Ironworks, who was released in Wave 1. So you can see the two modulator base modes here for Earthrise. And personally, I think that Ironworks definitely wins in his alt form. I do not think Airwave looks that great in this particular mode whatsoever. But we still have a couple of modes to get through, so let's begin to disengage all of the pieces and just essentially break Airwaves up. So just pull all of Airwave's pieces off, separating all that, and untabbing these sections here. So now what we'll turn him into is a almost gas station form, I believe it's called, or to me it looks more like a runway of sorts. But you just want to bring this section, tab this into place, and repeat the same process here for this side. And then with this, you just want to bring this around, snap that into place, and that will peg in nice and securely. Bring this section, snap that into place. I do actually quite like the versatility of these modulators for Earthrise and Siege. I think that they're quite fun, and I think that with Earthrise, the fact that they now turn into almost base-like alt forms, it definitely does create for quite an interesting option. And as I stated, these are very versatile, so if you have multiples of these, or even just other figures that are of a similar style, then I'm sure you'll be able to create your own unique transformations, which I think is what Hasbro are perhaps hinting at with this, as it is a very fun concept on paper, and I think that it could actually be a really fun concept if they made the figures really well done. I kind of feel as if though some of these figures are not made to the best of Hasbro's ability. And then just peg this one under to the underside, and the same can be said for this side. So just align that section up and snap that under there. And now you're supposed to create an almost tower out of this, which I think is pretty cool. Just bringing this in for a closer look, this definitely does look like a control station or a tower that perhaps you'd see at an airport or some sort, and just snap that into place. And that actually looks pretty cool. I think that this is a lot better of a mode than what we just saw there with the missile launcher mode. This one actually looks pretty awesome. And if I bring out some Micromasters, you can see how they look for scale. So definitely quite a fun looking figure. And then bringing these off to the side and bringing in Ironworks, you can see that he definitely does become a very long piece when you transform him into this alt form. And as stated, I think that this is definitely by far the better look. And you can see here, you can interlink all of these mechanisms, so you can create really huge modular battle stations. Of course, you can peg these onto Astro Trains, Skylinks, as well as Scorponok, and I believe Hoist, and even the trailer for Optimus Prime has the similar sort of mechanism. So you can definitely have great fun with these. And then just showing you how it looks with the smaller tower look. So just snap that there and snap this one into the side. You can see I think that that looks pretty awesome as well. But turning now to one of my favourite modes out of all of his alt forms, we are now going to transform him into his runway form. Now this, to me, is the best out of them all. It may not be your favourite, but I think that this is really where they were going with this figure. And I think that this is the alt form that they thought about the most of. So just peg all of these into place. And then tab this all in. Snap that in, and then we turn to the underside now, and you're going to want to align this in a way so that these tabs are facing forwards and that these slots are facing together. So what you do here is you just align the ports and the slots up, snap those into place, and you can see two slots under here and under here that these orange tabs will tab into. So as soon as you fold them back in upon themselves, they will clip in really nice and securely, and then just bring out this section and snap that into place. And here we have, in my opinion, Airwave's best alt form. I think that this one looks super cool and definitely looks like a runway. Of course, you've got the tower there, which looks super nice. And I really do like the detailing here for the runway. The Decepticon insignias, all of the sculpted in detailing looks really awesome. And this does actually roll as well, which is really nice. So I definitely think that this was the alt form that Hasbro and Takara Tomy thought about the most. So that's pretty cool. And then once again, bringing in Ironworks just for a comparison, you can see that he does become a very long piece in this mode, and I do actually believe he is just a larger figure in general than Ironworks. So that's definitely pretty awesome. But let me know down in the comment section below whether or not you think that Ironworks, who is an Autobot, looks more like a Decepticon, and Airwave, who is a Decepticon, looks more like an Autobot. To me, it seems as if perhaps these guys should have been flipped over. This one seems a lot more menacing than Airwave, and this one definitely seems a lot more friendly. So personally, I think that this should have been an Autobot and this should have been a Decepticon, but I guess they were sticking and keeping in with G1 accuracy to the original Micromasters, so I guess that's where they were going with that. But still quite a cool figure. And then bringing out some of these smaller figures. You can see how they look on the runway as well. It'd be quite nice to get some jets. I know that they are bringing out some NASA shuttles, so that'd be pretty awesome to display on this, almost as if though it's a runway. Of course, a NASA shuttle jets off towards space and doesn't run off a runway, but it would be quite cool to get some jets on this. I think that that would look pretty awesome. And then finally, turning him into his best mode, which is of course his robot mode. You just want to detach all of this. It's actually a little less destructive than some of the other modes. You don't have to pull nearly as many parts off as you did earlier on. So just untap these, rotate these sections around, fold this port up, and snap these sections into place. And then here with the legs, you just want to come to this, detach these, and then just wriggle that off. Wriggle this section off, and then this port here will actually slot into this slot, so you're going to want to ratchet that down and then just snap that nice and securely into place. I actually think that this is a really cool piece of engineering that they've obviously thought quite a lot about. And then repeat the same process here, so snap that into place. And then we've got two of his legs, so we can begin porting those all in. And then the arms, you're going to want to bring this in, snap this one into place, rotate this section around, take this piece, port this in, take one of the guns, port that section in, And then this arm here just tabs in. You just want to lift this panel out ever so slightly so that we can utilise the elbow joint. Flip up Airwave's head sculpt. Take this last gun and peg it onto his shoulder. And here we have Airwave fully transformed up into his rather cool looking robot mode. I was actually quite pleasantly surprised to see how much detail was in this figure, as this was actually one of the figures that I wasn't even going to pick up. But seeing as I am a completionist, I just had to add him to the collection. And I'm super glad that I did. I think that he's definitely got a really unique and very heavy infantry vibe to him. He definitely looks as if though he can pack in some awesome firepower. So he'll be a great asset for my Decepticon shelf. But bringing him in for a closer look, you can see that his head sculpt is rather on the short side. It's very short and stubby and rather compressed, but you can see some nice red detailing there for the eyes and some nice gunmetal silver there for the face and for the nose. You can also see here that the entire head has been cast in a blue plastic with a silver section there, and on the back of the head we also have got a huge port as well, which is something that you can utilise for any of his modes, or you could even utilise it for this mode, or add a blast effect to it to make it look as if though he's been shot through the back of the head of some sort. I really like the detailing here for the torso region, especially these sections. I think that there's some amazing detail there with some super nice paint apps, and the grey plastic also has got some nice detailing on it as well. The orange arms look super cool, and I do like how this tower section becomes an awesome looking blaster on him as well. Definitely very heavy duty, and it'd be awesome to see what kind of firepower this guy would be packing in. And then you can see here Decepticon insignias here. And then these obviously move out the way to accommodate the articulation. I've heard some suggest that these sections here are just reuses of Brunt, and I can confirm that they are brand new pieces. This entire figure is an entirely new sculpt, so he doesn't reuse any pieces from any of the other weaponizers or Micromaster bases or modulizers. He is definitely a brand new sculpt, which is awesome to see. And I do actually think that the detailing here for the legs is pretty nice as well, seeing as it is just grey plastic. And where there are paint apps, it definitely does help to amplify the sculpt. So really quite a cool looking figure, definitely a nice pleasant surprise. I think that the second wave for Earthrise is quite nice in general, but of course seeing as this figure isn't a standout character like RC or Smokescreen, I can definitely see this one being the shelf warmer, which is rather unfortunate. For a quick size comparison, here we have Airwave compared next to the recently released Autobot Ironworks, and definitely here in robot mode, I go back to my earlier point in saying that Airwave definitely looks like an Autobot with Ironworks looking more like a Decepticon. I definitely think this guy looks a lot more menacing than this guy. This one I can definitely imagine being on the Autobots team, whereas this one really does look like a Decepticon. So I'm not really sure where Hasbro were going with that, but just giving you a nice comparison between the two. You can see that whilst Ironworks may be slightly taller, Airwave definitely beats him in terms of the bulk, and in terms of plastic, he definitely feels a lot heavier than that of Ironworks. So the head can rotate left to right. It can be rather difficult to actually grasp seeing how short it is, but you can definitely get quite a good range of motion out of that. The arms can rotate the full 360. If you move this section out to the side, we can hinge the arm out to the side. Full 360 rotation here for the bicep. 90-degree bend there at the elbow. No wrist articulation, unfortunately. And the same here is for this arm. However, you can indeed rotate the gun on this one. So in a sense, this arm does have wrist articulation. We get a full 360-degree rotation at the waist. The legs can kick forwards that far, as well as back that far. You can do the split. Rotation here at the thigh, as well as a nice 90-degree bend there at the knee. And then finally, we do get ankle rocker joints here for the ankles, allowing for quite a variety of dynamic poses. So overall, definitely quite an awesome looking figure, and I'm glad that I did add him to the collection. For a Decepticon size comparison, here I have Decepticon Airwave compared next to both Brunt and Centurion, and as you can see, they are more or less exactly the same size, and I'm super pumped at how all of these look really heavy infantry. You can see that they are very big and very wide and broad figures, and I definitely feel as if though they are a force to be reckoned with. It'd be awesome to see these actually feature within Siege and Earthrise in the new Netflix show, to see how they actually look and interact with some of the other characters. So I'm definitely holding out hope that we do see these in action, and it would just give some backstory to rather unknown characters. And then finally, for a Wave 2 Earthrise Deluxe class comparison, here I have Airwave compared next to all of the other deluxes from Wave 2, all of which I have reviewed, so if you've missed any of the reviews, be sure to check them out. In terms of a ranking for this wave, I would say that the Alicon is definitely my favourite, with Smokescreen being a close second, third going to RC, and then fourth going to Airwave. I don't think he's a bad figure, but as he's not a character that I'm too familiar with, I don't really have that much of an attachment with, and in terms of a figure goes, he's just okay. He's not fantastic, but he's definitely quite fun. I do like the gimmick where you can obviously connect these up with other modular bases, and I do actually quite like the versatility to these modulators as well. I think that that's super awesome. So in terms of a recommendation, if you're a completionist, you're going to want to add this figure to the collection. However, if you're only really collecting the essential characters, then I definitely think that this one is a miss. But that's not to say it's not a good figure. I do think it's quite nice, and as I stated, it is rather enjoyable, but definitely not one on the top of the list. So I really do hope that you enjoyed my Airwave review. If you did, please let me know down in the comment section below, and also be sure to let me know whether or not you're planning on adding any of the Wave 2 Earthrise Deluxes to your collection, and if so, which ones are they? I thank you for watching my review, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.